What's important about what we need to note for next week on Tuesday? So as you already know, on Tuesday, on the 5th of November, we have the elections in the US. What you should do is basically prepare yourselves and your accounts to the volatility that's going to happen. So first of all, before we start with today's presentation, before we start with today's discussion, and before we explore what's going to happen into different instruments, whether it was for the US dollar on the short term or long term, or for the Euro USD, for the Eurozone in general, how is it going to be affected because of this presidential elections, whichever scenario happens, whether Trump wins or Harris wins, we're going to understand and go through the US indices, how they usually affect during presidential elections throughout the years for the past 50 to 60 years. We're going to also discuss commodities such as gold and oil and how the movements will be recorded next week. So today's seminar is held between me, George Kuri, and the Global Head of Research and Education in CFI, and Sarah Aliassiri, who is the market strategist at CFI, joining us from Jordan. Hello, Sarah, and thank you for joining us today for the webinar. Today is an exciting topic, honestly. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to discuss together, whether it is from the fundamental aspect, from the technical aspect, and very interesting insights that we will be sharing today. So again, hello, Sarah, and thank you for being with us today.
Hello, George, and hello, everyone, and thank you all for watching us today.
Okay, so Ayub, Eli, Rami, Saba, Tadi, thank you for joining, and thank you for everyone else as well. Let's start today's session with what's important, which is what we were discussing now, and basically the US elections within 50 years. So what happened for the past 50 years? This is what we will cover as a beginning. We're going to go through the table of content, but there's a lot of stuff that we need to focus on, even though it's not directly related to Trump or Harris, but we need to understand in order to prepare our portfolios, whether it's a trading portfolio on the short or medium term, or it's a long-term portfolio as well. So we're talking about the investment aspect as well. So we need to prepare ourselves from both different aspects. First of all, today's session is an interactive one. What do we mean by interactive one? Throughout the presentation and throughout the session, you will be seeing different multiple choice questions. We just want to know your opinion about specific subjects, and we want you to understand each opinion if it's actually going to become a fact or not. So please take your mobile phones, open the cameras, scan the QR code that you have here right now, and you're going to witness a page that is going to ask you for your name and email. Just plug it in, and then you will be able to continue with us regarding the questions that we will have throughout the session. If you are already on your mobile phone and you're not able to scan, just go to slido.com and enter this ID, which is number 4206414. It's much easier to do it on the QR code, but some of the people are watching through their phones, so please do so and sign in through the ID that is found here. And in the chat box that we have right now, if you witness any issues regarding Slido or anything else, or if you'd like to share any question that you have, please, you can do so as well through the chat box, so we understand what your questions are, and we are able to deliver and share with you the best information and insights that we have for today. So the first thing, which is the most important thing, which is the road to 2024. Let me go back to the slide. White House with CFI. What are we going to discuss today? First of all, we're going to go through the history of the US elections. Trust me, knowing history is one of the most important things in order to be able to, I don't want to say predict, but speculate on what might happen in the future. So we're going to go through the history of US elections. What happened, who won, what happened after they won, so on and so forth. After this, we're going to go through the US main political parties. Who are the political parties that we need to focus on? Following to that, we're going to go through the Republican and Democratic characteristics. A lot of people actually hear about the Republicans might win or the Democrats might win. But what does it mean? What does it mean for the US citizens? What does it mean for us globally as well, people that are living outside of the US from the economic and from the financial perspective? So we want to understand, who are the Republicans? Why do we care if the Republicans came or the Democrats? What are their agendas? What are the files that they are actually pursuing and they want to achieve in the election or whichever term they are handling? Then we're going to discuss the US elections and the financial markets. So the combination between both, the effect, what we need to focus on, how we should prepare ourselves to a certain point. Then the US race elections between Trump and Harris, more details into the current race and what we might expect on Tuesday of next week. And last but not least, each candidate economic files. There's something very important. After all of this, we didn't mention it here, but after all of this discussion, we're going to go through some instruments and prepare ourselves for specific prices for those instruments for potential opportunities and entries by the end of this webinar. Let me go through some of the questions. Okay, please, can you share the code again? Don't worry. Throughout the presentation, when we're doing the code, at the same time, when we're answering the question, you're gonna see the QR code on the upper left side, so you can scan it as well. I'll put it again now until we answer all of the questions. So this is the QR code. We'll go through the questions as well. Okay, Ayub, why your presentation in English but our Arabic language is great? Okay, so let me make this clear. Today, we're discussing the US elections in the English language with the English presentation. Tomorrow, make sure to go and visit our website, cfifinancial.com. Under the webinar section, in the Arabic language, you will see the Arabic version of this which will be provided by our colleagues, Muhannad Araikat, Omar Ayoub, and Majdi Nouri. So basically, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Dubai time, we have the Arabic version of this presentation and this webinar. So let's go back to the presentation. Again, if anyone has any question, you can also ask instantly while we'll go through the presentation. So the history of US elections. What are the important key points that we need to understand? First of all, it happens every 4 years. So each term equals to 4 years to a certain point. From 1789 till the year 2020, 59 presidential elections have been held. Out of these 59, who dominated the elections? They were two parties, as you can see here with me. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party at the same time. Who was winning mostly? As you can see here, 25 times the Republicans won the elections and 23 times the Democrats also won. This does not mean that we didn't have other political parties. We had, but they were not as organized and as strong, such as the independents, of course, like any country, the Liberal, the Right-Wing, and the Party, American Federalist Party, Democratic Republican Party, and they have won it very few times for the past 50 years or even more, approximately. So, who are they? Who are these Republicans and who are these Democrats? And why do we care? What are the characteristics behind their approach in managing the country every term? So, the major key points, we're not going to overcomplicate things. The major key points for Republicans, first of all, they are a little conservative. They support personal freedom to a certain point, but at the same time, they are restrictive, let's say from a civil perspective, smaller government expenditure, so they have less expenditure throughout history compared to the Democrats, and supports traditional values. This is where the contradiction kind of comes for the Republicans to a certain point. So they support traditional values, but also support personal freedom. As we have seen throughout history, I believe that they tend to have more weight under the traditional values to a certain point. This is what we have seen with the Republicans. From the Democratic perspectives, they support civil rights very heavily, and we have seen this for the past 4 years throughout Biden's administration. A broad social safety net, supports climate change a lot. We have seen a lot of initiatives by the Biden administration and even the Obama administration previously throughout the US elections, whereby they are supporting ESG investments and everything related to green energy and renewable energy at the same time. This doesn't mean that the Republicans do not care about this, but they are more manufacturing oriented or business oriented than environmentally oriented compared to the Democrats. So that's why they focus more on businesses, manufacturing, industrial production, and in specific, oil production. This is very important. We're going to discuss it further regarding the Republican parties. And these are kind of the characteristics regarding the differences between both of them. Okay. Now, how is the US presidential president chosen? As you already know, the United States is a combination of different states. Each state is able to participate in the US elections. So each state has electoral college votes based on its population totaling 538. So based on the population of the state itself, it has a specific chosen person or electoral who is able to make the decision on their behalf. Each state has specific numbers. So for example, as you can see, in different states, you have 54 electoral, you have 6, you have 4, depending on the size of the state and the population of the state at the same time. So if we have in total 538, how do we know which one is winning? We have the 270 votes mark. Anyone getting, or any candidate getting more than 270 is the person that will be the elected president. It's as simple as we are checking it right here. If you go on online and you check the polls that are happening, if you just put election and presidential polls, you will be able to see this map and what are the votes going towards who, the Republicans or the Democrats at the same time. US elections and financial markets. This is why we're here. This is what we want to try to focus on as much as we can. Before we understand what it is, we have a small question. So if you may look on your mobile phones, please, you will be able to answer this question. So did S&P 500 increase during Republican or Democratic era? What do you think? Which party supports the increase in the financial markets more than the other party? So if you can, you will be able to start voting on your mobile phones. And if you check here, if you check above on the QR code, you will be able to scan the QR code as we are seeing it right here in order for you to participate. So the majority for the time being are saying that during the era of the Republicans, we are seeing an increase in the S&P 500. For now, 0% think that Democrats support the increase in the financial markets or in the overall indices of that country in specific. I used to agree with this opinion. However, let's go and check the facts together. If you check the S&P 500, this is something very interesting. Since the year 1972, in each term or each era, as we discussed, a term is 4 years. We have seen the difference between the Democrats. So as you can see, the red elephant is the Republican and the blue donkey is the Democrats. These are their symbols. So what can we understand out of this figure? I'm going to give it to you. What we understand is that basically, regardless, on the long term I'm talking, regardless on who wins the elections, even congressional or the presidential, Democrats or the Republicans, we are able to see an increase in the S&P 500 year after year and term after term, regardless of who is winning. This is something very interesting because a lot of people actually thought that during Trump's presidency in 2016, he was able to push the US indices to all-time highs. He was able to, but it wasn't purely because of him. It's a cyclical sentiment that we see in the US indices overall. Of course, he supported the increase, but he wasn't the only catalyst. Yes, we might see that in the future, we might see a further increase in the S&P 500 if Trump won, but it's not essential or it's not forced to happen to a certain point. So a continuous rise, except for crisis. So whenever we have crisis, of course, we don't see a rise. Limited effect compared to fundamentals. So we care about the fundamentals, a bit more about the governmental spending, about the monetary policy, about what's happening regarding the money inflows of that specific country. Let's take a look at gold. From 1976 till 2024, as you can see, we have a lot of choppiness in each term, regardless if it's the Republicans or the Democrats actually winning. However, I don't want you to be demotivated and feel like, okay, then why do I care who comes? If this will not affect gold and will barely affect S&P 500, it will affect on the short to medium term. And this is what will be discussed with Sarah at the end of this presentation, going through the US dollar, going through the WTI, which is oil, going through gold, S&P 500, and we can analyze more instruments if you would like. Prepare the instruments that you would like us to analyze, and we will be providing you by the end of the session with the prices that you need to focus on in specific. So for gold, medium to short-term effect, this is what we need to focus on. The impact of the elections on the long run fades gradually. This is regarding gold. Let's talk about the dollar index. So what is the dollar index? It was created in 1973. It's a combination of currencies against the US dollar as a basket overall to show us the strength of the US dollar compared to the basket of the 7 biggest or most liquid currencies. So as you can see here, we have different weights for each currency. So of course, the euro holds the biggest weight compared to the US dollar of 57%. We have the Canadian dollar 9%, the Swiss franc 3.6%, so on and so forth. Let's check the questions a bit. Ayub, what is the effect on gold if either Trump or Harris win? We're going to discuss it by the end of this session. We're going to check the chart of gold, and we will provide you with the prices that we are checking or working on. Iman, gold, silver, WTI, Euro USD, NASDAQ, cash. Iman, you have a portfolio that you are working on, yes? Don't worry. We're going to go through all of these together. Okay. So the US dollar, or let's call it the dollar index, the DXY. First of all, what we need to understand is that the normal average break-even value of the dollar index is 100, as you can see it, okay? Both parties aim to strengthen the dollar and their policies. We already know this. However, based on my opinion, I believe that Trump in the upcoming elections will be able to support the dollar on the short to medium term a bit more than Harris if he actually won the presidency. Throughout history, also from 1976 till 2024, we have seen also a lot of choppiness. But I tried to dig deeper a bit into the value of the US dollar. And surprisingly, I have noticed that throughout those years, we're talking about approximately a gap of 30 to 40 years, approximately, even more. Yeah, we're talking about 50 years, approximately. For the past 50 years, what we have noticed is that, yes, there is a lot of choppiness, but during the term or the era of the Democrats, the average of the dollar was higher than compared to the Republicans. It doesn't mean that if Harris came, dollar will increase. On the short term, I already discussed it, that Trump might push for a better dollar, at least for the first year, to prove that he is able to make an impact. But it is yet to be discovered. We will check it by end of the session together. Now let's go to oil. As you already know, this is also from 1976 till today. Also, you will be able to witness some choppiness that is happening, but there is something visually, from a visual perspective, that I've noticed. When the Democrats take over a specific term, we witness kind of a decrease in the oil prices, whereas when we see the Republicans taking over, we see an increase in WTI. It's not a theory that we should base our investment on. Again, we will check the prices of potential prices of WTI or oil by the end of the session with Sarah. But just a small fact for you to understand, the preferred value for OPEC producing countries, for oil producing countries, such as OPEC, is mostly the preferred price is between $70 and $80 per barrel. This is a fact. Main factors that affect oil, of course, from a political perspective, geopolitical factors heavily they affect. Consumption, such as demand and supply, of course, depending on OPEC and their projections, and also the overall production. Let's look at Bitcoin, something a bit different. And we have very interesting news about Bitcoin for today, about the US elections for next week, and something that you need to prepare yourselves to. So since 2017, where we have seen a lot of liquidity on Bitcoin in specific, we have seen that throughout the presidency or era of Democrats, we have seen the increase of value of Bitcoin. I believe for the upcoming week or upcoming term and era, we have two scenarios as we discussed. We have Trump and we have Harris. If Trump won, based on his promises that he has been providing us for the past 4 years, whether he wanted more votes or he wanted to get more supporters such as Elon Musk and other crypto enthusiast supporters as well, we might see a further increase in Bitcoin. There might be a possibility where we might see Bitcoin at $100,000. It doesn't mean that it will happen for sure, but there is a high possibility in case Trump came and he continued in defending the cryptocurrencies and not smothering them with further regulations. This is a scenario that we might see. Okay. So overall, let's combine all of these together. For the S&P 500, for gold, for oil, for the dollar index, on average, we have seen that for the S&P 500, whenever we have an era of Democrats, we have seen increase in the value of the S&P 500, and it's around a 54% increase, approximately. Most, like 54% of the time, it's an increase in the S&P 500 under the Democrats' era. However, under the Republicans' era or term, we have seen a 28% decrease, which is much less compared to the Democrats. Gold, on the other hand, we can see that gold increases slightly by 19% during the Republicans' era, the Democrats, sorry, and during the Republicans, it increases by 49%. I totally agree with these numbers. Why do I agree with them? Because during the Republicans' terms, we always see more volatility. Yes, we might see maybe sudden increases in the financial markets, but these sudden increases usually are followed by drops or some crises that we are seeing. So, which means that when we have certainty, S&P 500 is increasing a lot, and it's happening through the Democratic era. When we have uncertainty and people invest in gold, it's happening during the Republicans' era for the past 50 years. This is what has been happening. Moving on to oil and the dollar, we see an increase in price in oil of 55% during Democrats' era and 0.3% only in Republicans. Why is that? We already know, and we're going to discuss it further with Sarah, we already know that Trump and the Republicans, to a certain point, they are not well invested into renewable energy. They prefer to increase their spectrum of oil production. And this is what usually happens. More oil production, what does it mean? It means we will have more oil and more supply. So more supply, if it's not met by more demand, it means that the prices will decrease. And this is what we are seeing in oil for the past 50 years whenever we have an era of Republicans. Please, these are very important information. Take very good notes of them. These are for the long term. We're going to discuss the short term with Sarah at the end, but these are things that we need to know on the long term. For the dollar index, we have seen an increase of 7% in the dollar and 2%. So on both eras, as I've mentioned previously, we don't have a lot of certainty or a direction for the US dollar compared to which political party is actually winning. So, which, in your opinion, moving on to something different, which term affects inflation? Go back to your phones, please, to answer this question and to participate with us. Which term affects inflation positively in the US mostly? What do we mean by this? During which term or era, whether Republicans or Democrats, do we see inflation increasing higher and higher? As we can see for now, 100% are voting off. I think it changed. It's changing. It was 100% Republicans. Now it's 67% Democrats and Republicans 33%. I kind of understand why you are choosing Democrats as a party that affects inflation in a negative way. So where we see inflation going higher. I understand it, and I think it's because you have seen what happened with inflation for the past 4 years. So during the Biden administration. However, going and looking at the actual numbers since the year 1972, these are the different winners of each year. So, of course, blue is Democrats, red is Republicans. And we have next to it in each year who is the winner. So Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Reagan, so on and so forth. Inflation, we can see the value of inflation throughout the term of that specific president and the interest rate. Looking at these numbers, we can understand that throughout the presidential election, the presidential era of the Republicans, we have seen record highs of inflation rates. So, what is this relation? Why do I care between what's happening between interest rates and inflation? Inflation and interest rates are generally higher under Republican administrations compared to Democratic ones. And there's something very interesting here. Even though inflation during Republican era is higher, we always see that the Republicans want lower interest rates because they want to boost the economy, they want more activity, and they don't pretty much care about inflation to a certain point. They want more production. They want more industrial activity. They want more consumer activity and participation. And this is their kind of governmental aspect of monitoring and working on things. Political management can drive up inflation, prompting the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates. And this is the fight that is happening between the Republicans most of the time and the Federal Reserve. As we already know, the president or the Congress cannot directly impact the decision of the Federal Reserve and the governor, which is now Powell. However, they can pressure him with the policies that they are actually using, whether it's from spending perspective, from taxation, are they providing a loose fiscal policy or more of a contractional fiscal policy. Moving on to the current US elections, going deeper into Trump versus Harris, I'm going to give the floor to Sarah, and Sarah will be taking the lead on this. So Sarah, tell us more about what's going to happen between Trump and Harris.
Thank you, George, and hello, everyone, once again. I apologize, but I have a technical issue, so I will not be able to use my camera today, but we will fix this issue as soon as possible, so I apologize again. So now, first of all, here in this section, we're going to explore the most important event in the global politics, which is the presidential race between the previous President Donald Trump and the Vice President Kamala Harris. So basically, this is a very important race for several reasons. First of all, there's a potential for a return of a past president, and this can also have an impact on the international policies. So basically, in this section, we will be exploring the candidates' background, their strategies. We're going to talk about the expected impact on both the global economy and the financial markets. So basically, before we start, we would like to ask you, who do you like most? Do you like Trump or Harris? And who do you prefer to win the most important race in the economy for now? So you can vote by clicking on Trump or Kamala Harris, and we're going to explore the votes together. So basically, for now, it's 70% for Trump and 25% for Kamala Harris.
What about you, Sarah? Who are you voting for?
I vote for Trump somehow because he's a full supporter for the economic growth, and I do like his mentality about the business and his strategies regarding the economic growth. So what do you say?
I believe, like, before we go deeper into the subjects with you, for me, I'm not pretty much a biased person. However, I prefer to have someone that will be able to provide us more clearness into what we're able to invest in. I believe if Trump comes, we're going to have a clear revision on the US dollar. I believe we're going to have a clear revision on the overall US market in specific.
Yes.
And for a short period of time, I think we're going to see some issues and struggles in the Asian markets. So we can have opportunities on both sides.
And especially the technology sector. I believe he's a full supporter for the technology sector. So this could be a plus for him. So first of all, let's start by discussing the background of both candidates. So we'll start by discussing the biography of Donald Trump. So as we can see, he was born in 1946. And as we just mentioned, he's known as a businessman with a huge presence in real estate, entertainment, politics. So basically, he is an investor in the real estate sector over the years. So as we all know, he's also the president of the US he was the president for the US from 2016 until 2020. And he represents the Republican candidate, as George mentioned before. So if we take a look at the net wealth, so basically we can see that his net worth is around $8 billion. What do we mean by $8 billion? This can reflect his investments in real estate over the years. And this can also gives us an indication that he's a businessman, he's a good investor. And if we can take a brief look about Kamala Harris, we can see that she is a full support for the public relations, for example, for the voters, the fairness, more rather than the businesses. So if we can take a look at Kamala Harris, we can see that she was born in 1964, and her career is somehow different than Donald Trump. So his career is rooted in law. And there's a very important note we need to know, that she's the first female vice president of the US under the president of Joe Biden and administration. So this can also give her a plus, that she's the first female vice president. And as we just mentioned, she represents the Democratic Party. And if we can compare the net worth between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, we can see that her net worth is around 6 million. So basically, what we can conclude here, if you want to compare the net worth, Donald Trump estimated net worth is around 8 billion and Kamala Harris is around 6 million. So we would like to see your opinion, what we can conclude from the net worth of both candidates.
You can share, everyone, your answers on the chat box, of course. And I believe it's kind of obvious, Sarah, in this case, comparing an $8 billion to $6 million. But at the same time, I don't want to be harsh on Harris at the same time, because actually Trump got a very big support from his father's businesses and from his father's wealth at the same time. This doesn't mean he didn't do anything by himself. No, he did a lot, actually, but he got the support. Harris's background is more from a modest family to a certain point. So, of course, we can't be biased from that perspective. But yeah, I believe it's obvious that Trump is more business oriented to a certain point.
Especially that her focus or her career focus is in public services and publishing, and Trump, he focuses more on businesses and investments, and as we just mentioned, especially in real estate. So basically their mentality is different somehow. So this can also have a direct impact on the market. So basically we can start to conclude and expect what is the impact of if Trump won or if Harris won on the market based on their mentalities and based on their strategies. So these backgrounds can, as we just mentioned, can have an impact on how they connect with voters and how they approach their strategies in the election. So if we move forward to the other slide, if we want to see how each candidate promotes himself, we can see that Kamala Harris promotes herself as part of Biden's administration. She focuses too much on the steps and the plans for the US, as we can see, or as we just know, that she focuses on the US recovery, the economy of the US from COVID. So she was behind the vaccination process, the economy recovery, as she helped in succeed for the US economy to not enter into a financial or economic crisis. So basically, this is how she promotes herself. If you want to take a look on how Donald Trump promotes himself, on the other hand, we can see that he often focuses on the economic growth that he took before the COVID pandemic. So he focuses on his achievements such as, for example, lowering taxes, lowering the unemployment rates during his term. So if you want to take a brief look about the economic indicators and the economic numbers, we can see that we had a very strong economy. We have a very low unemployment rate. Lowering the taxes also had a positive impact on the companies, and they performed well. So this is how he promotes himself. He also presents himself as a leader who can achieve economic success. So basically now he promises again that he can do that again, to have a strong and a healthy economy. First of all, he focuses on the low unemployment rate and the support that he can give to the US economy, and especially, as I just mentioned, the technology sector, because he cares too much about the competition in this sector. So this is basically the main differences, or the different approaches that they both have. And this gives us a clear image on how they're going to approach and how will they move forward in the next 4 years. If we want to explore and to take a look on the economy highlights, we can see that Donald Trump focuses, as we just mentioned, on business growth, and he focuses too much to protect the Americans' job, as you can see. How he can achieve this? So basically, first of all, he focuses, or his main intentions is to lower the corporate taxes and to reduce the regulations to help companies to grow. So this can make the companies to make a good profit, and this can have a direct impact on their GDP. This is the first thing. Secondly, he raised the tariffs on imports to protect the US industries, not only in China. As we can see, Trump focuses to raise the tariffs on China, Europe, and other major countries, while Kamala Harris have somehow a different focus. She aims to support the tariffs. So basically, she focuses to increase the tariffs only in China, and she makes sure to have a good relationship between Europe and other major countries in order to have a good and a strong trade. So Trump made it easier for oil companies to drill. So he's a full supporter to the energy sector. So here we can conclude that if Trump won, this could have a positive impact on energy sector. So basically, this could also have an impact on oil prices. And the last thing, he takes a strict approach to immigration, aiming to drive out any illegal immigration to keep the jobs only for Americans. As we just mentioned, he focused too much to protect the US jobs. So basically, he aims to drive out any illegal immigration. Kamala Harris has somehow a different focus. So basically, her main focus is to support the average Americans. She wants to help people to buy their first home. How she can do this, or how she can achieve this? First of all, she raised she's expected to raise taxes on the wealthy, and to put caps on certain prices in order to protect consumers from high cost. Her approach somehow centers on making things more fair for the middle and lower class, to ensure that people aren't overcharged for essential goods. So basically, what can we understand here? That these differences shows somehow that Trump's focus on growth and protection of US industries and oil sector or energy sector, while Harris can emphasizes the fairness and consumer protection. So basically, regarding the economic highlights, they somehow have a different mentality or a different strategies. So based on their economy highlights, we can expect how their plan or the strategies can have a direct impact on specific financial instruments. So now we can conclude here that if Trump won the election, this, first of all, can have a direct impact on what? On oil prices. And if Harris won, this could not have a direct impact on oil prices. So this is the main point regarding the economy highlights.
Adding to that, regarding the new home sales that we monitor on monthly basis in the US, I believe we might witness an increase in a better performance of the real estate market in the US under the Harris administration, if it actually happens, if she actually won next week, because she's providing a lot of perks for new home buyers, lower interest rates, more facilities, a better down payment measurements for the new home buyers, and even providing them for new home buyers with some amount of money in order for them to be able to use in their down payments. So I believe this might revive to a certain point, even though it's doing very well already now. Prices are very high regarding the real estate market in the US, but I believe it's going to become even higher and higher because demand is actually being created. But this makes me a bit afraid, actually, Sarah, because, okay, I understand that this money is coming from taxation to a certain point, from high-income earners and from corporations at the same time. But from the other side, if Trump comes, I believe this might, to a certain point, increase the deficit, the US deficit that we currently have, which might not impact the economy on the short term, but it might impact it on the long term. Maybe it might have an impact even after his era, if he actually won and came. So for now, we're witnessing a lot of pros and cons from each side, but we'll dive deeper with you now regarding the files of each section.
Yes, so basically now we're going to explore the economic plans of each candidate in more detail, as basically these are the main files that the voters will take into consideration before they vote, which is the tax file, the crypto file, and how they impact or how they influence the Fed's main policy. So basically by comparing these plans, we can get somehow a sense of how each candidate intends to shape the US economy. Trump, with his focus on business growth and protection of any American industries, and Harris with her focus on the fairness. So first of all, we're going to compare somehow the tax policies of each candidate and how they plan to impact the individuals and businesses. So as we can see, Donald Trump, first of all, focuses on reducing the taxes across the board. How? He aims to cut both businesses and personal taxes. His particular goal somehow is to lower the corporate taxes by from 21% to 51%. So basically, this is his main goal. While Kamala Harris has somehow a different approach. She's expected to raise the corporate taxes to 28%. So what we can conclude here that if Trump won, this could have a positive impact on the US companies' earnings and their profits, as lowering the taxes can also have more jobs, can also have more profits. So vice versa, for example, raising the taxes could negatively impact the US companies, their earnings, their profits, and the US jobs. So basically, this is the main difference between them on the tax files. We can see that Kamala Harris supports small businesses, and she also, the higher the profit rate, the higher the tax rate. What do we mean here? Here we mean that she raised the trades taxes, the corporate taxes, the capital gains. So raising taxes could have somehow a negative impact on the US economy. Here she has some points that she could, she's expected to put or to increase the taxes on billionaires, on wealthy people, on the middle class people. Why? In order to contribute to a fair share between the middle class people and the poor people. So here the main difference in this slide that we have to focus on is the corporate tax rate increase. How Trump he focuses to lower the taxes on corporates and also on the personal on persons. And Kamala Harris, her main focus is to increase the taxes. So we have to take this point into consideration regarding the tax file. This is the most important thing we need to know. If we move forward to talk about other files, because I guess we don't have too much time. George, if we can go to the other file.
Yes, just one small thing here. So this is something also very interesting, actually, Sarah, regarding what's happening with the corporate tax, and especially the last point, which is the higher profit rate, the higher tax rate, which is a taxation policy that is called acceleration taxation policy, which is basically the higher your income, the more taxation you will have to pay, or tax you will have to pay for the government. Yes, it's good for the government and for people that have, let's say, lower salaries, and it's fair to a certain point. But at the same time, from a geographical perspective, it actually demotivates as well. We have seen it throughout history. It demotivates as well at the same time the motivated learners and people that want entrepreneurs in specific. So we might see more entrepreneurs and rich people fleeing the country to open their businesses.
Now let's explore the trade files. So basically, as we can see, Donald Trump focuses on protecting the US economy. How? By increasing the tariffs on all imports on China and other European countries, and also other major countries, while Kamala Harris only focuses to increase the tariffs only in China. As we just mentioned, she focuses to have a positive relationship between other countries. So this is the main difference between the trade files, which is increasing the tariffs can also somehow have a negative impact on the international trades, as Donald Trump focuses on the local market, and he wants to boost the local market and to protect the US economy. So by increasing the tariffs, he believes that he can achieve this. George, if you can go to the previous slides. Yes. And I just want to mention one point here, that he aims to support the US industries from other competition, which he believes that this could protect the jobs and boost the US economy. And this is his main goal. So basically, he focuses on creating more jobs. And if we can take a look at Kamala Harris, what is her plan on the trade file, she has somehow a different approach. She focuses, as I just mentioned, on to strengthen the trade with other countries in Europe and to build a strong economic partnership with other major countries. So these approaches can gives us an indication that Trump's focuses to protect the US job first of all, and Harris seeks to use the trade as a tool to strengthen the international trade, and this can have a positive impact on the GDP. So this is regarding the trade file. We can talk about how what is their strategies on the climate change files, as this is a very important file. Why? Because as we can see, Trump focuses on increasing the energy production. So this, as we just mentioned, could have a positive impact on energy sector and on oil prices. So he supports the energy jobs. He supports the energy production. He supports oil exploration. So this is his main focus. And this could have not only, by the way, this could not only have a direct impact on oil prices, but on energy sector as a stocks. So any stocks relate in the energy sector could also have a boost if Trump won, and this could have a positive impact on the prices. Kamala Harris has somehow a different approach. She aims to protect the climate by supporting a shift to clean energy. What we can conclude here, so her approach could encourage the use of what? Renewable energy sources like wind and solar. So this could increase, for example, the demand for the lithium. So if Kamala Harris won, we can see an increase in the lithium prices that's used in EV batteries. So her main focus is related to energy sources, solar energy, lithium, EV batteries. So this, if Kamala Harris won, these sectors or these instruments could have an increase in prices during the upcoming 4 years. So that's why it's very important to know these stocks in order to expect the impact of the president in the financial instruments and also on the economic as a whole. So that's why these details are very important. It can give us a good indication or a good image to expect the future prices for some financial instruments. If we can go to the last slide that talks about the Federal Reserve file. So as you can see, regarding the Federal Reserve file, Donald Trump has shown an interest in the policies of the Fed. He aims to influence its decision to align with his economic goals. So he believes that this approach could help him to support the growth and manage interest rates to benefit the economy. So yes, he has an impact or an influence on the Federal Reserve policy, while Kamala Harris, she supports to maintain the Fed's independency, let's say. She believes that neither political party, including the Democrats, should have an impact on the Fed's decision. So she argues that the independence of the Fed's policy is essential in order to maintain a stable economy policy. So basically what we can conclude here that Trump have an impact on the approaches of the Fed, while Harris, she prioritized keeping the independency from the political influence. So this is the main point regarding this slide. I guess because we don't have time, let's move forward, George, to discuss. Okay, we have still the crypto file.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, we're gonna.
Because
I guess we don't have time. I want to do an analysis for the chart. If we can talk about them quickly.
Let's talk a bit just quickly about the crypto file. So I'll do it just briefly. We still have some time a bit. It's fine. I think from the monitoring the viewers, I think they're still interested in these topics. So it's fine. Don't worry, everyone. The Zoom link will not expire, so we can still proceed together and stay from the crypto perspective. And then we'll talk briefly about the dollar strategy, and then we'll go to the more of the prices. So if you want, Sarah, I'll go through the crypto file really fast. So regarding the crypto file, the most important thing is the criticism or the, let's say, the lost vision that Trump has, because in 2019 he was criticizing crypto and Bitcoin in specific, and now here in 2024 we are seeing the shift in his interest suddenly. Of course, because he wants to get the enthusiasts and the crypto fanatics to support him in his elections. And it's obvious, it was obvious from the beginning when he started with his presidential campaign. So most probably what we expect from that in that case, most probably more demand on cryptos and on Bitcoin in specific if Trump won. On the contrary, regarding Harris, she doesn't have a clear vision. She doesn't have a specific opinion, actually, that is too biased, whether she's okay with it or not, but she's more going towards putting more regulations on this industry in specific, even though she promised that she doesn't want to put a lot of restrictions recently, also because she wanted supporters from the crypto community to support her in her elections. Moving on to the US dollar strategy, Sarah, you would like to discuss it?
Yes. So basically, in this slide, we can see that, or our conclusion is a strong dollar index can actually be a predictor of US election outcome. How? Because over the past 30 years, whenever the dollar index was strong about 3 months before an election, this could signal that the current party would likely to stay in power. So a strong dollar index might be a good sign for the current administration heading into the US election. So basically, as we can see now, the dollar index is still trading in an upward trend. Still, we have major levels we need to focus on. George, if we can go to the other slide. Yes. So basically, this is, we're going to talk here about short to medium term. So basically, in this current now, the dollar index is still trading in an upward trend. Now, in the short term, it's trading in a sideways movement between a support level near 99.5 and a resistance level between 107. So basically, these are the most important levels that we need to monitor in the short to medium term. So now our expectations is that the US dollar is expected to trade or in a sideways movement. When we can expect a positivity for the US dollar, first of all, the prices needs to exceed the main support level near 105.8. So if the prices succeed in exceeding the 105.8, then we can expect that the prices might try to target the levels 107. Yes. And if we want to talk about the major support levels, we can expect that if the prices broke the levels 101, then we can expect that the prices may try to target the levels 99.5. So basically, these are the most important levels that we need to monitor in order to expect the future path or the future trend for the US dollar. If you can take a screenshot or you can take a photo in order to monitor and to follow up with the most important levels, as these are our current expectations. These are the most important and the major levels that we need to monitor. So we suggest that if you can take a screenshot or a photo, and then for sure we can do an analysis. Still, we have a live sessions every day. We have a webinars. We're still gonna do an analysis, everyday analysis during before and after the US elections, after and before the US decision. But for now, we suggest to have a photo or a screenshot for the major levels that you need to monitor. George, you would like to add anything regarding the US dollar?
Regarding the prices, I believe the prices that we have here are very, very fair regarding the support and resistances that we are monitoring for the time being. Actually, this is something very nice. So when we notice a sideways movement, as Sarah was just mentioning, or a consolidation to a certain point from a technical point of view, and the US dollar in specific, this provides us, whether now or in the future, with a very nice opportunity. Why is that? Because most of the time when we witness any kind of breakout, whether it is to the upside or to the downside, most of the time we see continuation of that specific breakout. What, in my opinion, what I'm seeing right now, as you've mentioned, Sarah, the trend is overall upward trend. And we are witnessing a lot of pressure from the resistance perspective at the 107 price in specific. To reach this price, as you've mentioned, 105.8 needs to be breached. I believe at the same time, what will support this breach to the upside, what might support this breach to the upside, is Trump winning the elections. I think on the short to medium term, this might support heavily. Also, Harris might support it, but it might be slower or at a slower pace. In order for you to have a clear vision, don't worry about this whole complication. Put the prices that we just shared with you and monitor breakouts out of these prices.
Now, if you want to take a look on the S&P 500 major levels, as we can see, the US 500 is still trading in an upward movement. We have a major levels that we need to monitor, as the prices are currently somehow trading in a sideways movement after the upward trend. So basically, we have an upward trend. Recently, we have somehow a sideways movement as all the investors are still waiting and looking forward to the most important economic indicators, the most important economic decisions that we still have. So basically, tomorrow we have the NFP. Next week we have the U.S. elections. We have the Fed's decision. So these sideways movements gives us an expectations that the investors are still looking or waiting for the impact on the major news and the major decisions that we're looking for. So if you want to talk about the major levels, George, please, the US 500.
Yeah.
Yes. If you want to take briefly about the major levels, so as you can see, when we can expect a positivity for the US 500, first of all, the prices needs to exceed the levels 5,881. This is now the first and the major resistance level. And then if the prices succeeds in exceeding these levels, then we can expect that the prices may try to target the levels 5,900. If you want to take a look about the major or the most important support levels, we can see that the levels near 5,760 is now considered the most important support level for the prices. We need to see a stability above these levels in order to keep expecting a positive momentum for the US 500. So basically, if the prices broke the levels 5,760, then this gives us an expectation that the prices may try to target the levels near 5,670. So basically, these are the most important and the major levels that we need to monitor. We can expect a positivity for the US 500 only if the prices succeeded to exceed the 5,881. And when we can expect a negativity for the US 500 if the prices broke the most important support level near 5,760.
So here we have a comment. It's a very funny comment, actually, from Ayub. He's saying that now we are watching a film, gold has fallen. So Ayub, I think you're in favor of gold falling further, but be careful. Be careful. When we have a very strong trend, similar to what we're seeing right now, yes, we might see corrections in gold prices. Sarah, I'm going to discuss gold prices now since we have it as well. And the comment from Ayub. So you need to be very careful. Yes, when you have prices near all-time highs, definitely you will see corrections. This is for sure. However, we don't want to mistake a correction from a downward trend or a fall that might happen. So here we need to monitor the prices similar to what we will be providing with you right now. So the prices that we need to focus on are four simple ones for the time being. On the short to medium term, let's call it on the short term. As Sarah mentioned, we have live analysis on the daily basis. We have the Telegram channels, we provide the analysis there. We have the website, we provide our analysis there as well. So we will keep on discussing the subject even by the end of next week, because we will monitor the impact and the effect and share with you our information and opinion. So the prices that we need to focus on is 2,800 for sure for gold, which will be the new all-time high if it was reached, 2,830, and even further. Actually, if it breached 2,800, I believe the value of 3,000 wouldn't be far anymore if it was able to breach the level of 2,800. From the support perspective and correction perspective, we are looking at prices of 2,710 and 2,680. So these are the prices that you should be focusing on for gold in specific. Take note of that, and if you want to take a screenshot, whichever works for you better. Anything on gold you would like to mention here, Sarah, or all is good?
No, all is good.
Okay, so moving on to the last question. Who do you think will win the race elections in November 5? Share your opinions. We have instant supporters. Instantly, we've seen someone voting for Trump. 0 supports for Harris. Okay. By the beginning of the session, we have seen some supporters for Harris. So I believe the supporters that would like Harris to come, they don't believe that she would actually come. Of course, we don't have the answer from our side, but as we can see, based on the audience point of view, that the majority of you are voting that most probably Trump will be winning the elections. If you look even at the polls that we have currently, we also see that Trump is most probably going to win the elections. However, it's very crucial to take a step backwards at the same time. So if you prepared your portfolio based on Trump winning, so indices moving higher, dollar moving higher, so on and so forth, if we have a surprise and we understand and we see that Harris won, we might see a setback in those prices. So when we see decreases in dollar price on the short term, I'm talking, and decreases in the US indices. We have provided the prices for you. So you just need to monitor, just check what we're saying on Telegram, because we will be sharing all of these information. Aside from this, I would like to share with you some features that you will be able to utilize and to analyze through them as well from now till next week. First of all, monitor our daily stocks report, weekly stocks report, and daily CFDs report about the technical analysis. I'm going to share it with you now. And our webinars that we will have from now till next week as well. Monitor the Telegram channel very well. You should also focus, if you believe that you're not able to make a decision by yourself, you can go over something called HokoCloud, which is a copy trading system whereby you will be able to utilize the system and different methods regarding copying other successful traders. And you have many other platforms and systems that you are able to use, such as Trading Central, such as Capitalize.ai, such as TipRanks for stocks analysis, of course, TradingView for market analysis and news at the same time. And of course, you can do all of this through the CFI app, whereby you just have to take a screenshot of the QR code here, and you will be able to get the to log in onto your account. Let us check some questions. Iman, excellent presentation, very well designed, very well delivered in a structured, engaging way. Well done. Thank you so much, Iman. And thank you so much for everyone as well. Because we care a lot about your opinion, we would like you to share your opinion through Trustpilot. So please, if you can, go to Google, just write CFI Trustpilot, and we would like to have your feedback regarding if this was a suitable session for you. Did you benefit from this session? You didn't benefit from this session? It would be very good for us to understand in order to be able to support you better in your future webinars and sessions as well. Eli, you are excellent. Thank you. Ayub, you are excellent. Thank you so much, Ayub. You are the excellent person. Teddy, perfect. Thank you so much. Eli, well done. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sarah, for the insightful information that you have provided us with. And thank you for the audience for participating in this debate and discussion that we were having today. Don't forget, the markets will be very volatile in the upcoming 2 weeks. We have the Federal Reserve interest rate next week. We will discuss it in the live coverage every day on our social platforms at 12 p.m. Dubai time, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. We're going live every day at that specific time with Omar Ayub, our analyst in Lebanon, with Sarah as well, our strategist in Jordan, and sometimes I'm covering it as well from Dubai. Thank you again, everyone, and good luck with your trading for next week. Risk management, please. Risk management is key. Monitor your accounts, because usually this is something very important before we close. When we have high impact news, usually the margin requirements increase. So be careful on your accounts. Monitor your accounts. Don't enter more trades than your account can actually handle. This is very important. Protect yourselves, and good luck for everyone. And thank you for being with us for today.